Hello, and welcome to Very Kimberly, the healed side of codependency. Did you know that not all the desires of a codependent's heart are bad or wrong? As a matter of fact, deep down, the desires of our hearts are really in line with God's design. How? Well, we possess a new spirit and a new heart in Christ. And that heart's desires are always in agreement with God's own will. You might be thinking to yourself, but wait a minute. Isn't it wrong to constantly seek love, acceptance, validation, and approval from people? I often ask myself and God that same question in my own healing journey. And today, I want to share with you the answer that the Lord gave me. One of the main desires of a codependent's heart is the love, acceptance, validation, and approval of other people. This is the prize that we hope to achieve by all that people pleasing, right? Well, if you really think about it, that right there is the big difference. See, the desire to be loved, to be accepted, to be validated, and to be approved of is not wrong. It's not bad, nor is it sinful. The desire itself is in line with God's design because God designed us to live together in harmony, giving and receiving those things in fellowship with each other. However, what turns this good desire into a type of sinful compulsion and borderline idolatry is the flesh nature, wanting control over fulfilling those desires in its own way instead of God's way as well as His timing. A really good example of this that the Lord gave me would be Sarah in the Old Testament. Sarah's desire itself to have a child of her own was not bad or wrong. And God had even promised her husband Abraham that he would be the father of a nation. But after years and years of waiting and coming to an age where biologically it would have been impossible to even conceive a child, Sarah's flesh nature took control of the situation. See, during that time period, it was a very normal and common practice to have your servant surrogate a child for you if you were barren. Even in today's time, it might not be a servant, but surrogacy is still being practiced by people who cannot have children of their own. So, Sarah, wanting so badly to have that void in her heart filled, and at this point, also questioning her own worth, reasoned that using Hagar as a surrogate was the only way. See, Sarah gave up believing that she was worthy enough or valuable enough for God to fulfill his promise to Abraham through her. Likewise, a codependent's desire to be loved by another person, for example, is not in and of itself wrong. Let that sink in for a minute. It is not wrong for you or I to want to be loved by another person. But that void is still there. That desire goes unfulfilled. So, what happens is that our flesh nature wants to take control of the situation by over sacrificing, fawning, pretending to be someone we're not, etc. We do this because that is what we were raised to believe was normal. It makes sense to us because it's what we saw growing up. Just like Sarah believing it was only normal and logical to use Hagar as a surrogate. We also do this because we falsely attribute having that void in our hearts with our worth as a person, just like Sarah did. And just like Sarah, we make very poor choices in life with devastating consequences when we choose to take that control over our own lives instead of trusting in God's promises. Now, you might be thinking to yourself at this point, well, God never promised that people would love me. But God did promise Sarah that she would give birth to Isaac. And you're right. God did not promise to fill those voids in your heart with the love of people. He promised to fill those voids with His love, as well as His love through the right people. If it is God's design for all of us to give and receive that same love He gives to us with each other, then when we trust in that design, we can also trust that God will send into our lives people with whom we can have that fellowship, people with whom we can grow together with. God does promise to take care of us, to take care of our needs, and to provide everything we need to grow in our knowledge and faith in Him. So, just like Sarah, eventually God will fulfill His promise according to His plan and purposes for our lives. The testing, however, is in the waiting for God's promises to manifest. But when it does, God also promises that it'll be worth it. I hope that you got a blessing from this video, and until next time, this is Very Kimberly, encouraging you to keep striving to be on the healed side of codependency.